It is time for everyone to watch a horror movie again. Today's story is about a Thai horror series titled The Host. It is said that in many places in northern Thailand, when a baby is born, they hold a grand ceremony. The shaman first covers the baby's face with a red cloth. Then she shouts loudly. All the attendants immediately begin to dance following her lead. Their dance is very peculiar, as if welcoming someone's arrival. In the very center sit the child's parents. They press their palms together, very devoutly. They look towards the shaman. The shaman then raises her hand and dismantles a clay doll. She places the body part on the baby's head. The scene immediately falls silent. Soon after, a crisp ringing sound echoes near the baby. When the ringing fades, the cradle begins to sway. Following this are the baby's cries. He seems to have been unsealed and reborn. After the shaman finishes her chanting, she hands the clay doll's head to the two parents. She emphasizes that this object must always stay with the child until he reaches the age of 18. Apparently, according to local legend, everyone is born shaped by a soul. Newborns are also protected by ghosts from birth. It is as if they are the child's other mother. But this mother has an extremely volatile temper. She often violently dismantles people like pieces of paper. The scene shifts. A small boat sails towards an island in southern Thailand. A girl sits on the boat. She comes from the north. At this moment, she looks at the island with a worried expression. This is because it houses a girls' juvenile detention center. Its predecessor is a prison, making it extremely remote. The island not only lacks resources, but even basic food and clothing require self-sufficiency. It seems to return to the agricultural age. Therefore, people sent here are certainly not good people. They might have taken several lives. Soon after, boatman Pin and Ing land on the island together. A student named Aim comes to meet them. Even though she appears respectful to Ing at this moment, she slaps mercilessly later. Afterwards, the students gather on the playground at the sound of the whistle. At this moment, a woman in a black dress also walks towards them. She is Prasanna here. The girls respectfully call her mother. At the same time, she enjoys the power this job brings. Every time Pin brings someone here, he brings Prasanna a newspaper. This time, however, he cannot leave as usual. A sudden storm has already swept away the small boat. He can only stay on the island temporarily. Prasanna also worries he might cause trouble with the girls. So, she settles Pin at a lighthouse near the coast. Ing does not know if she is being targeted. She is placed on a bed piled with miscellaneous items. Cockroaches crawl all over it. Embracing the idea of making the best of her situation, Ing has no complaints and only wants to peacefully get through this period of transformation. But that night, she encounters trouble. Just as Ing closes the door, preparing to relieve herself, rustling sounds suddenly come from outside. Following that, a basin of feces pours down from above, covering Ing's entire head. She smells the stench. She also hears mocking laughter. It turns out Aim and her gang are outside the door. She abuses the newcomers everywhere, relying on the power Prasanna gives her. And the girl who just threw the dirty water is the previous victim of abuse. Now they turn their attention to the new arrival, Ing. In the following days, Ing not only takes on all the dirty and heavy work but also endures bullying from Aim and her gang. Until this night, Aim, full of wicked intentions, comes to Ing's bedside with a knife. She is about to do something when the dormitory door suddenly bursts open. When Aim turns around, a pair of sharp claws tightly grasps her right hand and then disappears. Immediately after, the sound of someone teasing a dog comes from the doorway, accompanied by the sound of bells. Aim turns her head to look, and the person quickly disappears from sight. She chases after them with a lamp. In this school, besides Prasanna, no one else dares to scare her like this. Aim is a little scared but still follows the person upstairs. During the process, she continuously utters threats. However, as soon as she finishes speaking, a figure pushes her directly down the stairs. As Aim is half-conscious, a deep voice whispers in her ear. She quickly looks towards the stairwell and discovers the person is wearing a school uniform. From this, she concludes that the person seeking revenge is Aang. So, During the art class on the second day, Aim's good friend wants to help her friend save face. However, with a slight lapse in attention, Ing's utility knife cuts her palm. This scene also makes Ing recall some bullying incidents from her previous school. However, the final outcome is that all of her bullies mysteriously perished. That night, Aim is combing her hair in front of the mirror. Suddenly, she pulls out several strands of hair that do not belong to her. The hair is pale, and she is immediately startled. Looking into the mirror, she sees that the person who appeared that night has found her again. Aim is so scared she can barely move. But when she slowly turns her head, there is nothing behind her except for beds scattered everywhere. Coupled with the roaring thunder outside, Aim is extremely panicked. The strange person hums a tune and suddenly appears. Fortunately, everyone in the dorm wakes up from the scream and gathers around. She looks around, her eyes wide as if she has lost her soul. And upon seeing the clump of pulled-out hair on the floor, Aim confirms that it was not a hallucination. At this moment, the girl they often bully also comes over. She notices claw marks on Aim's shoulder. She then reveals everything she knows. Without holding anything back, she states that the ghost suddenly appearing in the dorm might be related to Aim. She reveals her scar while speaking. This suddenly appears after she is forced to splash Ing's head with feces that night. She then asks Aim and the others if they have heard the legend of Mae Sue. Ployd tells them about some of the initial sacrificial rituals. She says that in their northern region, most people believe newborns are protected by a ghost. Therefore, they have a ritual from birth. After the ritual is complete, the shaman divides a clay doll in half. The head is given to the parents for safekeeping. And from then on, the child has no further connection with Mae Sue. So Ploy determines that Ing most likely does not participate in this ritual. Hearing this, Aim and her group find it interesting, but they still refuse to believe it. The next day arrives. The bully trio, as always, harasses Ing relentlessly. They first casually cut her hair. Then they bring a bedsheet and spread it over Ing, almost suffocating her. Ing always clenches her fists. But 2 fists cannot defeat 4 hands. That night, before lights out, she secretly goes to the end of the island to find Pin, who lives in the watchtower. Ing begs him to take her away. But Pin is also in a difficult position, now that the boat is lost. He himself does not know how long it will take to leave the island. Ing can only return to the dormitory and lie down again. At this moment, Aim, across from her, stares at her and sits up. It turns out she saw the scene of Ing meeting with Pin just now. Early the next morning arrives. Aim goes to pre-sauna and tattles on Ing. A loud slap lands on her face. The rules here strictly forbid meeting boys in private. Pre-sauna is furious about Ing's actions. She takes a wooden stick and whips Ing dozens of times. She warns the girls watching to learn from this lesson. Soon, it is bedtime again. With a sense of unease, Pre-sauna decides to go to the dorm with a lantern to see if Ing has learned her lesson. Fortunately, everyone is already in bed on time. Pre-sauna worries unnecessarily. But as soon as she turns around, she hears the sound of someone teasing a dog behind her. Pre-sauna is instantly enraged. She looks in the direction of a flash of lightning, and a figure suddenly appears by Ing's bed. It is Mae Sue, who has always protected Ing. Mae Sue hums a song and walks towards Pre-sauna. Pre-sauna has never seen such a sight in her entire life. She instinctively backs out of the dorm, not daring to turn her back on the figure. But despite this, Mae Sue still approaches her, seeking revenge for the dozens of whips Ing received that morning. Seeing that many people who harmed Ing have faced retribution, Aim also has no choice but to believe the folk legend Ploy talks about. While Ing is away, they search her bed. Finally, in a wooden box, they discover the clay doll Ing carries with her. She participates in the ritual. The mud doll's body and head are not separated. By the next day's recess, the bully duo sees Ing daydreaming alone in the woods. They do not know why, but as soon as they see Ing, they get furious. They jointly grab Ing's arm and come to a nearby abandoned well. Then they press her, forcing her to accidentally fall into the well.
แต่ถ้าอยากออกมามึงก็ลองเรียกแม่มึงมาช่วยดูสิ
After they finish speaking, they cover the well opening with a stone block. It is simply atrocious. Everyone keeps searching on the island until dark. Ing hears sounds and shouts loudly from below. However, her cries for help are completely covered by the sound of the heavy rain outside. Although she does not get rescued, Ing waits for Mae Sue, who is hiding in the dark. It kindly says not to be afraid. It turns out Aim and her group's actions have completely enraged Mae Sue. Afterwards, it appears beneath the water's surface. Ing also sees Mae Sue's true form for the first time and screams in fright. At the same time, Pin, who is searching in the woods, comes to the vicinity of the abandoned well. Only then does he discover Ing has already climbed out by herself. Pin goes forward to chase her. At this moment, the camera suddenly cuts to Ing's childhood. That day, she wanders around in the woods as usual. Under a very thick large tree, she discovers a pile of mud dolls with only bodies but no heads. Subsequently, Ing picks one up from the ground. She connects it with the doll head on her body. This also means that all the rituals Ing performed during her lifetime are now void. Mae Sue once again finds Ing through this connection. Mae Sue's first kill happens on this day as she makes her way home. Two ignorant human traffickers suddenly jump out from the grass and abduct Ing. Her parents hear the child's cries and desperately give chase, but they eventually lose track of her. At this moment, one of the traffickers, a woman, suddenly screams and is dragged into the sky. When she lands again, she is sprawled out with scratches all over her body. The leading man naturally does not fare any better. After his scream, her parents, leading the villagers, finally find Ing. To their shock, Ing is unharmed. In contrast, the two human traffickers lie dead in a pool of blood, their eyes still open. The next morning, after everyone has gathered as usual, Pin and Ing appear at the back of the crowd. Seeing her covered in wounds, Aim and her accomplice immediately feel guilty. One of the girls speaks first, saying that Ing must have been secretly meeting with Pin last night. Ing retorts, but before she can finish speaking, the person slaps her across the face. Seeing Pin and her start to fight, Prasanna, from across the way, yells loudly, interrupting their argument. She says that she does not want to believe anyone right now, and that the truth will be revealed after her investigation. Prasanna dismisses the team. The open conflict seems resolved, but secretly, tensions still run high. That same night, during bedtime, the school bully who slapped someone suddenly feels unwell. She widens her eyes and then touches her throat. Someone is choking her. She struggles violently in the air. Ing walks over. She coldly watches everything unfold until the school bully completely perishes. The next morning, Aim, who just woke up, finds a large group of girls gathered outside the dormitory. She runs over to join the crowd but discovers her good friend perished by the well. Then Ploy tells Aim that Mae Sue did it. Ing also says Mae Sue will come for everyone here. As they speak, Ing suddenly walks towards them, and everyone quickly avoids her after seeing her. The usually arrogant Aim naturally cannot lose face, so she rushes forward and grabs Ing's collar. She is about to hit her, but her hand stops in midair, trembling with fear. After returning to the dormitory, all the girls see Ing and hide far away, huddling together in a corner. Prasanna also runs out of options. She instructs Pin to take Ing away at all costs after the storm passes. Meanwhile, during their conversation, Aim and her group arrive at Prasanna's archive room. She wants to see what Ing did to be sent here. Immediately, on a shelf, they find a newspaper. It details a tragic incident that occurred at a boarding school where 30 people lost their lives. The perpetrator is Ing, the sole survivor of the massacre. At this moment, Ing communicates with Prasanna. She explains that after her parents' death, she was sent to a boarding school where she constantly suffers bullying. She originally wanted to use this opportunity to reform herself and return to a normal life. However, this place is no different from the previous one.
แต่จริงๆหนูได้เรียนรู้อย่างหนึ่งจากทุกคนที่นี่นะคะ คนที่เข้มแข็งกว่าจะอยู่รอดเสมอ โต้ตอบเมื่อถูกรังแก ทุกอย่างคงจะดีกว่านี้ ถ้าโลกนี้ไม่มีพวกสันดานเหี้ยๆแบบอีพวกนั้น
หยุดนะ แกรีบไปเก็บข้าวของของแก แล้วออกไปจากที่นี่ให้เร็วที่สุดเลย อย่าให้ฉันได้เห็นหน้าแกอีก
ครูไม่ดีใจหรอคะที่นักเรียนเร็วๆที่ครูสอนแล้วไม่จำมันตายไปบ้าง
The scene changes. On her way back to the dorm, Aim once again hears the sound of someone teasing a dog. She turns her head to look, and a door across the hall slowly opens. Immediately after, her friend is suddenly lifted into the air and eliminated. Terrified, she retreats and quickly locks her dorm room door. But when she turns around, the dormitory is also a bloody scene. Everyone is killed and lies in a pool of blood. Luckily, all of this is a dream Aim has due to excessive mental stress. Meanwhile, in the office on the other side, Prasanna recalls the words Ing just said. Her mood remains unsettled. She glances at the crimes Ing committed in her file. She worries the events will repeat. So, taking advantage of the quiet night, Prasanna quietly sneaks into the dormitory. After walking to Ing's bedside, she raises her hand and neutralized her with several stabs, amidst the sound of the knife rubbing against flesh. Prasanna is certain Ing is dead. She returns to the office in a good mood. Just as she lets out a sigh of relief, she is shocked to find Ing looking at documents at her desk. She is completely unharmed. Prasanna, still unwilling to give up, raises her hand and stabs again. This stab is firmly caught by Ing. Then Mae Sue, who is beside her, exerts force and controls the knife, making Prasanna kill herself. Next, Ing burns all her files as if she has never been to this juvenile detention center. Soon after, Aim and her group, hearing the commotion, rush over. They are very shocked to see Prasanna's body lying there. What surprises them even more is the document on the desk. It shows, including Aim, many of them are already released early. But Prasanna wants to enjoy the superiority that power brings. So she still keeps them confined by her side. Aim and her group do not know what to do now. They can only take desperate measures and destroy Ing's mud doll first. But whether they pull it apart or smash it with rocks, the mud doll is like it is made of titanium alloy and suffers no damage. Meanwhile, Ing has already found Pin. At this moment, he is the only person she trusts on the island. Ing says she was just bullied by Aim and her group again and asks Pin to bandage her wounds. But while going to get medicine, Pin notices a reflection in the mirror and discovers a monstrous creature crouching beside Ing. Instantly, he confirms that what Aim said about Ing during the day was true. He quickly runs and finds Aim and her group in the school building, telling them what he just saw and that he has locked Ing in the lighthouse. But as soon as he finishes speaking, everyone immediately becomes tense because a mere wooden door cannot stop Mae Sue and Ing at all. She is very disappointed that even the person she trusts the most also sides with Aim. Pin is trying to console Ing. Just as her mood starts to improve, a girl in the crowd throws a bottle at Ing, instantly reigniting her anger. Moreover, on the ceiling above them, Mae Sue, hiding in the shadows, is already poised to strike. In a flash of lightning, it splits the person who just threw the bottle in half. Seeing this, everyone scatters and runs away. Pin and Aim return to the lighthouse to wait for rescue. Then Ing arrives, carrying a knife. She points the blade directly at the bully. Aim. In Ing's eyes, one of them must die today. At this critical moment, Pin arrives just in time and shields Aim. Having no other choice, she stabs with the knife in a fit of rage. Pin blocks with her body and takes the full force of the stab. Afterward, the two women continue to shove each other. They eventually break through the railing. They fall off the cliff next to the lighthouse, plunging into the sea. After a while, they wash ashore. At the same time, the storm finally stops. Aim barely gets up, her head still ringing. Ing immediately pins her down again, and they start tearing at each other. She tells Aim that she must die today. Otherwise, she will never find peace in her life. As she chokes Aim, Ing realizes she is injured, having been stabbed in the stomach by the knife from earlier. Aim seizes the opportunity and overpowers her. She picks up a broken glass bottle nearby, intending to stab Ing to death. However, Aim fundamentally cannot bring herself to kill anyone. Just then, the sound of a ship's horn echoes in the distance. It is the maritime rescue team that Pin contacted via radio. Arriving on the scene, Aim then releases Ing. Aim thinks that since Ing killed so many people, there will definitely be a good show to watch later. What Aim does not expect is that Ing is already crazy at this point. Ing raises glass shards and smashes them towards her sacrifice without hesitation. As Ing keeps bleeding, a strong wind immediately kicks up on the ground, stirring up sand and stones. Mae Sue immediately climbs onto Ing's head from behind and tightly strangles her neck. After speaking, Mae Sue pulls Ing and drills into the ground. It turns out that although Mae Sue can protect Ing from being bullied by others, she also has to pay a corresponding price, devouring the soul of the protected. Not long after, when the boat docks, the sky is already bright. The rescue team takes away Pin's body. At the same time, they also find Prasanna's body in the teaching building, as well as the bodies of 2 other dead girls. Combining this with the bloodstains on Aim's face, the search and rescue team find it hard not to suspect that she killed these people. Aim tries her best to explain. She says that Ing and her Mae Sue killed all these people. However, Ing had already burned her own files beforehand, and she was also taken underground by Mae Sue, with no body found. So the search and rescue team simply does not want to believe Aim's crazy talk and can only temporarily calm her emotions. At this moment, another group of surviving girls is brought to the shore. Aim sees hope. She pleads with her companions to defend and exonerate her. However, having suffered long-term bullying, they desperately want to exact this blood feud. Taking the rescue team's questions, the girls remain silent, shaking their heads to indicate they do not know anyone named Ing. Thus, Aim is eventually deemed insane and is rearrested by the rescue team and taken back to prison. At this point, the movie ends.